Restaurant Unstoppable. What the most successful restaurateurs know that you don't. With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, Isaac Toups. My man, Isaac, are you feeling unstoppable today?
I don't feel unstoppable. I am fucking unstoppable.
Yes, that is what we like to hear. So
Only way to go.
Chef Isaac Toups represents the new guard of Cajun chefs, known as his sophisticated approach to a cuisine that's best known for the deep rustic flavors. His culinary style is the direct result of his New Orleans fine dining experience, coming up under Emeril Lagasse's restaurants and growing up Cajun. Born and raised in Rayne, Louisiana, the heart of Cajun country, with over 300 years of New Orleans family roots, Isaac and Amanda opened Toups Meatery restaurant in 2012. 5 years later, you followed that with Toups Self. I cannot wait to get into your story to find out how you got to where you are today, but let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
It's called Too Dumb to Be Scared. That's the company motto.
Yes.
As in we go full bore. We go straight into a project with sometimes reckless abandon. It normally works out for us, but we have incredible drive, and we bow our heads, and we know how to go, we know how to work, we know how to hump.
Just get into it. Nothing to it but to
into
do
the
it,
fray.
Right? And I love to say ignorance is bliss. It's a common saying, and it's so true. I think if you put too much emphasis on, it's good to plan, it's good to have a strategy, but at the same time, if you overthink it, paralysis by analysis is another saying, right? Mm-hmm. But really, why does that resonate with you, and how do you think that served you most up to this point in your life?
Honestly, just working really hard and always just having my foot forward has always really worked hard for me. It's done really well for me. Like everything, like go into a situation and just go 90 miles an hour and put all your work into it. Don't take days off. Put every resource you can. Say yes to everything unless somebody wants money. Mm-hmm. So every little publication that comes out, every radio program, every TV program, every little big thing, I say yes to.
Well, thank you for saying yes today, man. I can't wait.
Of course, I say yes to everything.
I can't wait to get into your story. So where does it make sense to start telling your story? I mean, I knew that you had barely any experience when you went to work for Emeril Lagassi, but what were you passionate about food before that? Like, when does it start?
Small background story. Okay. I'll keep it short.
Please.
Born and raised in Rayne, Louisiana. Spent my first 20 years there. In Cajun country, and that's deep Cajun country. So just because you're from Louisiana doesn't mean you're Cajun. Sorry, it's actually only about 100 square miles.
Okay.
That is Cajun country in South Louisiana. There, I said it. I'm Cajun. My family actually, on my father's side, predates the Cajuns. So we were here for several decades before the Cajuns came over, and then my mother's side, they're the ones who brought all the Cajun influence with them. So that being said, my mother and father are Prairie Cajun and Coastal Cajun, my father being the Coastal Cajun and my mother being the Prairie Cajun. Not a lot of people know about that. So I grew up with this dichotomy of Cajun upbringing that I didn't even realize I was getting.
Okay.
I didn't realize that I was getting all this wonderful Cajun influence. I thought everybody went and shucked oysters that they harvested wild. I thought everybody went fish, cleaned that fish, and their grandmother cooked that fish. That doesn't happen, apparently.
No.
Not everybody roasts whole pigs. Not everybody has these big, giant crawfish boils. And not everybody peels 50 pounds of shrimp in a clip and freezes them. Right. So I got this culinary upbringing that I didn't know I was receiving, was very lucky to have. So even though everybody cooks in my family, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everybody cooks, and we just live to eat, and it's part of our culture. But like my dad's a dentist. But my dad can go catch a fish in his backyard, clean it, and deep fry it in an hour. So that being said, I didn't start cooking professionally, that is, until I was about 21. I was job hopping after college because that shit didn't work out. And I worked at this little restaurant called Préjean's in Lafayette, Louisiana, and immediately, like almost instantaneously, fell in love with like, aha, I found it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
What was it about the industry that you fell in love with?
Just something about the cooking and the speed and the fact, like, if you knew what you're doing, you can get immediately better.
Yeah.
And I like that about the industry. Even nowadays, I'm 20 years into it. And if you focus and you look, and I've got a Thai book right now that I'm looking after, you can keep getting better. The water is deep.
There's so much to
learn. The water's so deep. And,
yeah.
and at my experience level, I'm pretty good at my little microcosm in my little corner over here. But there's so much more, and that really gets me up and going every day.
Yeah, you said college didn't work out for you, but you said you graduated. You're 21 years old, so you completed your degree, I'm assuming.
Oh, no, I'm a high school dropout.
Okay.
So after dropping out of high school, I went and got my GED.
Gotcha.
And then I literally did the old college try, and I went for a semester, and I realized that this is why you didn't like high school, because you can't sit in the classroom, and I still can't sit in the classroom. I could be sitting in a board meeting discussing a six-figure deal, and be out the window looking at the squirrel. So
I feel that, man. But the thing is, it's a common. I feel like so many people who are attracted to this industry who struggle in the traditional school system do so well. Why do you think that is? What's going on? Why is that a trend?
Working for me has always been easier than classroom because it's goal orientated. I have something to do at all times.
Yeah.
So I just focus on that. And even though my mind wanders, I'm still back there, knife in hand, moving, and I'm thinking about Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm completely scatterbrained. So, but I've worked out in a system I can walk in here and I know exactly what's going on everywhere, with still being completely scatterbrained. So I've kind of take that fault and turn it into a superpower.
I'm making a note to focus on how you use systems to make up for your scatterbrain, because I think that's important, because I think that's a lesson we can all learn. So systems. So when you were 21, 22 years, you said you only worked like a few months in the restaurant industry before approaching Emeril Lagassi, right? So what was going on through your head? Why were you moving out of? You were at Lafayette at this point.
I was living in Lafayette behind my father's denture clinic, where I used to work, my first job. And so I can actually make dentures now, side note. But Amanda, my wife, she's from the North Shore of New Orleans, and she wanted to come back to New Orleans. She's a wild child, and I said, you know what, I kind of want to get out of a small town too. New Orleans, hey, I want to learn how to cook professionally. New Orleans made sense in like several formats. I wanted to leave town. She wanted to go back home. I wanted to learn how to cook. So New Orleans was just like, well, this is easy decision. So we packed up and took our couple $100 and found an apartment, and I walked into Emeril's Delmonico thinking it was Emeril's, and it turns out that wasn't Emeril's, that was Emeril's Delmonico. And the chef took a risk on me and hired me on the spot, and I was the fry cook.
Okay, so this is like a real deal restaurant, though. This isn't just any restaurant off the streets. This is a well-respected restaurant, right?
Absolutely.
And this is, I think, another example of what you don't know. What was your opening quote? Say it one more time for us.
Too dumb to be scared?
Too dumb to be scared, right? And we've had people on the show who went through the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, and got all of this experience, and they graduate, and they have like the restaurateur they want to go work for, and they literally have a panic attack before even knocking on the door because they've built this up in their head, right? And they end up going to work for other people because they're afraid. But you never even had that opportunity to realize where you were and what was happening in that moment.
No clue. I mean, I knew of Emeril Lagassi, and I knew of Commander's Palace, but that's it. Yeah. And I actually staged at Commander's Palace, and I staged at Emeril's Delmonico. And I talked to the chefs. I didn't talk to whoever the chef, the Commander's was at the time. The chef had just passed, but I talked to. Obviously, didn't talk to Emeril Lagassi. Yeah. I didn't even make a call. I literally walked into the restaurant and said, can I speak to the chef? I would like to have a job.
Yeah, this is 2002, so at this point, Emeril Lagassi is kind of a big deal. He was a big
2001,
deal.
2000 or 2001, something like that.
Yeah, at this point, he's replaced
the height of his career.
Exactly.
The height of his fucking career.
Yeah, so you wouldn't expect to be like doing the interview with Emeril.
No.
But you still, like, the reason why these people get so successful is because they know how to surround themselves with other amazing people, right? So the lessons you must have gotten working. What were some of your earliest lessons?
Oh, just how to be consistent, how to use salt, how to using water and salt, proteins, just the little simple, how to be organized, mise en place. I mean, the lessons are there, just continuously being beaten to your head. You only use 3 towels.
Why only 3 towels?
Linens are expensive.
Yep.
And so that's still the rule here in my restaurants. Since linens are expensive, there's so many things that can crush a restaurant versus how many things make a restaurant successful. So these lessons have to be just hammered and drilled, working clean, sharpen your knife, making sure your station stock, make sure you give a heads up, make sure you're communicating to the fry cook that you need the fried shrimp for your salad to go out because the chef is going to kill you.
Yeah. So reflecting back at this time, you said that they taught you consistency, they taught you organization, they taught you about knowing the value of certain things like linens, right? But reflecting back, how did they teach you consistency? In what ways did they teach you how to be consistent?
Taste your food. That's probably the number one. That was one of our chef's mantras, like taste your food. And to this day, taste your food is still one of the things that I say over and over again when somebody says, hey, I made this. And I go, did you taste it? And the answer better be yes. Yeah. Before you hand it to me, before you sell it to a customer, did you taste it? If everyone would adhere to that one little rule, everybody's food would be so much better.
Yeah. So is there a way to taste that we can share? I mean, because my taste might be different from your taste, but still it's relative to our own, so it should be consistent, right?
The taste in my restaurant should be my taste. It should be salted to my palate. So if you're unsure, you come bring it to me. So that's another rule. People think they can't bring me something. Like, no, you can ask me the same question 50 million times in a row. I'm going to answer you because you asked me. Not asking me, getting something wrong will get you hammered.
Yes, I love it. So what about organization? What was their approach in teaching somebody who's straight after like a very minimal experience in culinary? How did they approach that lesson of organization with you?
It starts as simple as working clean. Don't be clutter. If you make a mess, immediately pick it up. Make sure your station's swept. Make sure your apron's clean. Just look at your surroundings. Does it look organized? I tell people when they're putting stuff in the way in the back, I'm like, chef, should this be 2 inches to the left, 2 inches to the right? I tell them very simple, really easy rule. I'm like, if it looks organized, it is, and that's very true.
Yeah.
So if it looks appropriate, you put it up on the shelf, and they change the way the spices are a little bit, but it looks good. I don't say anything.
Yeah. So when did you ever get corrected on your organization coming up?
Oh, of course, you get corrected. I mean, a good house, you'll be corrected at all points.
How did they correct you? What was their approach for correcting
you? Some guys yelled, some guys pitched a fit, some guys were passive aggressive. So every manager did a different job. Some managers didn't do it at all.
Yeah.
And they suck. But that's another good rule is I always learn something from everyone I've ever worked for. Sometimes it was what to do. Sometimes it was not to do.
Yeah. So you spent 10 years coming up at this one location, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which Emeril restaurant was it? One more time, remind me.
It was Emeril's Delmonico, but I also spent some time at Emeril's and Emeril's NOLA. I also helped open up Emeril's Gulfport, and I did a stint after the hurricane at Emeril's Miami. So I was a bit of an everyman.
All right. So
I wanted a job. Put me to work. Pay me money.
So when you came on, you were a fry cook, right? That was your first role, right?
Right.
How long did it take you when you left the Emeril family of restaurants? Where were you?
I was second command of Delmonico's.
Okay.
I was exec sous chef.
Okay. What did that ladder look like? When were like the key points in your career climbing the ladder underneath this restaurant like hero?
At first you get thrown into it and you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah.
I had little cooking experience. I could actually shuck an oyster better than anybody there. But not knowing what you're getting yourself into, you have no idea how deep the water is and how much progression you have. But I was always looking at the next station. So when you're on fry, right next to you is pantry. Well, I wanted to work pantry. So I figured out how to work it real quick. And when somebody got fired, I'm like, hey, I can work pantry.
So, okay, and I think dive into that because I think a lot of times people, when they're working their job, they're told to do things and they're just eyes down focusing on their thing. But at that same time, we've learned this in the past. Like, you're surrounded by everything that's going on. Like, how do you did you make it a point to like notice how long they're keeping the pan on, the range? Like, were you timing it? Were you getting the rhythms down? Like, what does that look like? Studying the next role look like?
It's all of that. It's being where your surroundings. And yes, the first thing you should focus on is what's in front of you, your task at hand. But as soon as you got that down, and you got to take, some guys would take a smoke break. I didn't. I would take a break and go learn the saute station, and I would ask questions, and I would go to the chef. Chef, why has this happened? He would actually appreciated that.
Yes.
And a fellow banter with my other cooks. I'm like, hey, I'll do your knife work to get better at my knife skills, and you do something for me that requires no skill.
Yeah.
You peel the shrimp. I'll work us on. I used to brunoise everybody's shallots, and everybody like, this guy likes to cut the shallots. I'm like, I actually do, and that's why my knife skills are better than you. I'm also humble.
Yeah, but I think the other lesson there is to ask questions. Like, pay attention, ask questions, and like you said, they will appreciate the people that you're working with and for will appreciate this. And what happens when they appreciate it? Like, what spins out of that?
You get moved up.
Yep.
You get moved up real quick. If you can work a station better than Jack or Jill, guess what? You get to work that station a lot of times. Not all the times, but sometimes. They have different ways of bringing people up. A lot of houses will bring people up based on the amount of time they've been there and not skill level, which is a mistake.
Why is that a mistake?
It's a mistake because just because you've been here longer than me doesn't mean you can do the job better than me.
There you go.
I move people up whether you can do the job better. I don't care how long you've been here or how old you are or what your skill level like, or you went to culinary school or you work for Grant Atchaz. I don't give a fuck.
So when did you take on a leadership role? When did that happen?
It happened pretty quick, and I actually kind of, as soon as I made sous chef, I was only a couple years into it. So I went from fry cook to pantry to saute to apps to butcher to saucier to manager, all within a couple of years.
Damn.
And as soon as I took over the sous chef role, I was actually already telling people what to do, and I was already friends with everybody anyway. So it was like, hey, I need you to do this now, and I was like, okay, cool, no problem, Isaac.
So what was that transition like, being everyone's friend, but then transitioning to a management or leadership role where now you're their boss too? Because a lot of people do struggle with that transition.
I got burned a couple times for sure.
Yeah.
And it takes being burned.
What do you mean by being burned?
You let your friend get away with something, or you cover for them when you're the manager and they're the cook, and then they screw you over and they didn't mise en place like they said they would, or they left something dirty and you think, oh, don't worry, that's my boy Isaac can get away with that.
Yeah.
So it takes you learning that hard lesson. I also had problems telling someone older than me what to do. I was raised, respect your elders and be like that. And the chef actually said this famous quote, and I always love this quote. He says, hey, look, you having problems dealing with the older guy? This is how you think about it. It's your job or it's his job. Pick one. I'm like, oh, thanks, chef. It was crude and it was to the point and it made a lot of sense. And I take that to this day. It's like, his job or mine? Well, that made it a whole lot easier, and I fired that dude.
Yeah, well, it's right. I mean, it's hard to do, but you're right. Your job or mine.
It used to be. It used to be. Now I could fire somebody and take a nap.
So what has changed in you that has made it easier? Like, what's the dialogue in your brain look like?
The dialogue in my brain is actually like the polar opposite of, say, Marco Pierre White would be that I am everybody's friend in there. I'm your boss first, but I'm also your friend. You can come to me with anything. Like, you got an extramarital problem, you got a drug problem, you can come to me. I could probably figure it out. I've got really good rapport with everybody.
Yeah.
The dishwasher, my general manager, my wife, we all have an open line of communication. You have a problem with anything, you come see me. And when I ask you to do something, I'm going to ask you to do right now, hey, would you tip your hat just a little bit? And thank you. And if you can't understand that, it's like say somebody under-seasons something. I'm going to go up and say, hey, Aaron, would you add some more salt to that? And the response best be, yes, chef. And it's that simple. That's simple. I think about when I ask someone else to, I go, how do I want to be asked? Do I want to be yelled at? No, I don't want to be yelled at. Do I want to be fussed at? Do I want to be passive-aggressive? Do I just start kicking shit around? Like, no, just come ask me straightforward to do something. That's it. That's it.
Got you. So, moving around Emeril's, like reflecting at that time, all these different experiences that you had, all these roles you had, what were the biggest lessons that you think you learned? I mean, you learned everything about your culinary career, mostly under this restaurateur. But what were your biggest lessons that you think that this experience gave you?
Oh, I didn't have a whole lot of one-on-one time with Emeril. I got more and more as it got on. But I learned real quick of how to take care of people or how to understand people. Being a chef and being a manager, honestly, for this long isn't his degree in psychology. I know that guy needs a hug. That guy needs a kick in the ass. That guy needs a hug and then a kick in the ass. And everything in between. I know how to deal with people, and I know how to treat people. You treat people good, you treat employees good, you don't have to worry about a whole lot else. Yeah, I'm always going to worry about the sausage. I'm always going to worry about the shrimp. But my employees like working here. If they don't, they can leave. And if you've got a problem with me, I guarantee it's you. You can ask around town. I'm really likable because I'm a nice guy. I'm not an asshole. I look like an asshole. I look like I could tear your arms off and beat you with them, but I won't, because I just genuinely like being here, and I like being human, and I like being alive, and I like playing with my kids, and that's just kind of the way to be. Just have joy. So why do you got to yell? Why you got to fuss? Why you got to be a dick at work? We all know a dick at work. You're thinking of that dick at work right now,
yeah.
And I'm not that dick.
Okay. I love it, man. So what about business though? Because I mean, you basically got your graduate in like your whatever degrees working here, but like what did they teach you about business? Like something that if you didn't pick up this one thing about how they run their businesses, that you wouldn't have been where you are today with your business.
Well, I didn't. And the one thing I didn't pick up, I'll focus on, is money.
Yeah, okay.
And that's a hard thing to teach, and it's a hard thing to understand, because it was one thing they didn't let me in on was the finances. Wasn't my position. It wasn't my business. It wasn't my fucking business how much money they made or what they did with it. But as soon as I opened up a restaurant and became an owner, boy, you fall on your face hard, and that's a hard thing to fall on, because you can get everything else right.
You were just starting to tell us about how not really getting the time to learn about finances while working under Emeril's restaurants was one of the things, reflecting back, that you wish you could have gotten. But any other lessons you did get before moving on, talking about you opening your first restaurant?
Yeah, it's all about, you have to just hammer every single lesson you have, whether it's the linens or whether it's washing your hands. I say all these things all the time. I say, did you taste your food 15 times a day? I say, did we put that stock in a metal container? Did we ice it down immediately? All these lessons. Did you devein the shrimp? Did you da-da-da-da-da? Every lesson that you've learned and have to give all the time. And Marco Pierre did say this. He said, the more you're in your kitchen, the better your food will be. And that's something I completely agree with.
Yeah.
If I take a couple of weeks, take a vacation, I am like I'm on vacation at the beach going, oh, the shrimp better be seasoned right. You can't get it out. You gotta be a psychopath. You gotta be to ad nauseum your job. You gotta be a little off.
I can't help but think of Danny Meyer's words when constant gentle pressure. And I think so many people get so irritated and so frustrated with having to constantly repeat things and put the salt center of the salt, right? But once you accept that that's your responsibility as a leader to constantly correct. I mean, did you ever come to that realization that I could lose my shit, but it's not worth losing my shit because this is what I'm supposed to do? I'm a corrector.
Yeah, you just get comfortable with it.
Yeah,
you get comfortable with just the repetition.
Yeah,
I've got to yell at my servers to sweep the rugs. I swear to God, do you sweep the rugs? Do you sweep the rugs? Did we mop the floor? We mop the floor. Did we mop today?
I love it, man. Okay, so let's transition to you opening your own restaurant. First, I'm curious, did you approach anybody at Emeril's businesses to see if they would be interested in letting you, how does that work with such a celebrity chef? Do they typically invest in other people and their dreams that work on their teams?
That was a hard no on our call.
Okay.
I actually, but right after I left the restaurant, Emeril's Restaurant Group, I did a couple private gigs for some other people who didn't know how to run restaurants and got severely burned. Okay. And I was working the same amount of hours, which 80 to 100 hours, just ridiculous amounts of work, working for these other people. And after getting burned twice in a row, me and Amanda went, to hell with this. We don't mind working. I don't mind working. I'm a workaholic. I'm always going to do it. But working for other people is for the birds. Now let's bust our ass for ourselves. So we didn't want an investment partner.
So in my research I caught that you yourself burnt out a little bit working with Emeril's restaurants. Didn't you take a break? Weren't you a fishmonger for a few months?
That was after getting burned the 2 times on the private, not after Chef Emeril's restaurants.
Okay.
But after the 2 private, I got burnt out.
So what was the reason for leaving Emeril's?
I had an offer for my first executive position at a restaurant I really loved.
Okay.
It was one of my favorite restaurants back in the day. And I went to work there because I was like, it's a dream job. I'm now a chef, and the guy ahead of me, the executive chef, who took over Delmonico was one of my great friends. And I just assumed that he was going to be there forever. I'm like, you know what? I'm never going to try to throw him under a bus. So I've got to go, instead of trying to be the chef at Delmonico, it's been 10 years. Let's go somewhere else and be your own chef. And then you learn those lessons.
Do you think it's important to get around and to get experience at different places before opening your own place?
I mean, yes and no. But part of me says, man, in my mid-20s, I should have gone stage around Europe or at least around the rest of America. And I didn't. I went focus hard at Delmonico.
Why is that so important?
Which one?
Staging, getting out, getting different experiences.
I think that's very important, but I didn't do that.
Yeah.
And some of me wishes I did. At the same time, I'm doing pretty good how I did.
Yeah.
So I have these regrets. Like, you want to have these regrets, but look at where I'm at now. I'm in a pretty good position.
Yeah.
Pandemic, outstanding. But yeah, just getting out and eating new things, traveling, talking to people. Knowledge is power.
Yeah. So you left Emeril's Restaurants to go take on this executive chef role. And you said you did some consulting too. What were some of the big lessons that, with all the knowledge and all the skills you picked up working for such an industry great, transitioning to these new spaces, did you see things that they were doing that you instantly improved? And what were the things that people typically missed that you picked up on in this circumstance?
Chef Emeril always had keeping a really good team around him.
Okay.
And some of these other, I made my own mistakes, so I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. But some business owners want to open up restaurants because they think it's glorious or whatever, and they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard to tell somebody whose owners they're signing your checks that you don't know what you're doing, and they see the numbers don't come in wrong and say, well, they get reactionary. It's like, okay, we got to change everything now. I'm like, no, hold on. So that's the hardest thing to do is when you're working with somebody or you're working with a team and you have several team members who aren't doing their part and there's nothing you can do about it. That's extremely frustrating.
Yeah. This is going back almost 10 years ago. We don't have to mention the name of the restaurant, but what weren't they doing right? What were the things that you instantly were like, this needs to change?
Not paying their employees.
Okay.
And then one of the owners driving up in a nice car. So it was like a blatant slap in the face.
Yeah.
I actually had to pay my own sous chef out of my pocket.
Yeah.
And it was after I left that job. It was 6 months before I got my money back.
Yeah.
And then they were just starting to do some illegal stuff, which is actually how they got shut down. They were physically taking liquor from one of their other restaurants and bringing it over to the restaurant and selling it.
Why is that illegal?
You ever try to just set up a bar illegally and try to? No. The alcohol board does not like that. You have to have a liquor license. If you don't have a liquor license,
gotcha.
So it's a bunch of little things, and and they try to stranglehold my food. I'm like, you brought me on as this culinary leader, and now you're telling me what to cook. Yes, you're the owner, but you hired me for a job.
Yeah, got you. Great lessons. Any other lessons before we start to transition to your story with what you got going on here with Toups Meatery?
Those a lot of lessons are hard. Learn them quick. Don't repeat yourself.
So when did you have this vision for Toups Meatery? When did you know exactly what it was you wanted to do?
That's kind of was a growing for the first couple of years. It was kind of a growing scale. At first, I kind of wanted to open up a deli butcher shop.
Okay.
Toups Meatery was going to be it's a high-end butcher shop, and you sell meats and you sell sandwiches. And pretty soon it's like, oh, we'll do sandwiches and we'll do a pasta dish. Oh, you know what? We're also going to add some cracklings, and we're also going to serve. You know what? Okay, it's a restaurant. So I had to go to my wife and go like, okay, look, we're scratching all this. Let's not joke. It's a restaurant now.
So was that a hard pill for you to swallow, or is this what you wanted to do?
No. It was the easy pill. In fact, once I accepted it, this was a restaurant, I actually felt better about it. Yeah. I'm like, okay, now I know how to do this.
Yeah, I think the lesson there too is that sometimes we get so caught up in getting things perfect, right? Just the way we want them to be, and this is going to be our dream restaurant, just like this forever. Then we start, and then we realize that what we thought isn't necessarily what's best, right? So I think you have to be open to adapting. And what was causing these adaptations? Was it customer requests? Was it what were the reasons why you're adding all these different things on?
Well, at first we opened up as the restaurant. We didn't open up as a deli and change before all this started. So you open up with a plan. That plan goes to shit real quick. You fall on your face. Well, plan B. Have plan C through Z and then ZB, Z1, 2, 3. Yeah. Because you have to have a new plan almost at all times, and you have to have a backup plan. Then your backups and your backups. So we opened up. First night we sold all the food. The next night we did the same thing. We kept doing that and like, okay, I need more coolers. And then you realize, okay, I'm not making enough money. Oh, I see. I'm not charging enough for my food. I have too much labor. The rent's too high. Well, you can't do anything about the damn rent. Yeah. And we almost closed this restaurant right after Hurricane Isaac, coincidentally, or not coincidentally. Always wanted to have a hurricane named after me. Get one, almost shuts my dream down. So these little lessons like money and payroll and insurance is a thing. Wait, I have to pay payroll? So you have to pay money to pay people payroll tax.
It keeps compounding.
Yeah, it just keeps shit.
So these lessons are really great lessons. They're hard lessons to learn. When it came to finance, what didn't you know? What were the lessons you had to learn the hard way?
Pretty much all the lessons about finances in the hard way, and how to move money around, and how to use credit cards, and how to use small business loans, and how to pay them back, and how to get tax deductions off all that. And it's very complicated. My wife luckily takes care of most of the finances in what department, and I have a good team.
And your wife is your business partner in this restaurant.
My wife is my 50-50 business partner. So
how do you two complement each other?
We try to stay in each other's lanes, even though we cross lanes a whole lot. So, I'm obviously the culinary director and the face of it all, and I'm the jackass that jumps on TV and radio when necessary. And Amanda takes care of all the social media and a lot of the paperwork, and she keeps my ass in line, which is a fucking job in and of itself. And so, she needs something that's like, Isaac, we need, for financial reasons, we need to take on this, and this. I'm like, okay, I'll do it, and then I'll make that happen. And so, we were together for a long time before we started restaurateuring together, and I think that was essential.
Why?
So we already knew each other, because we still fight on occasion, but it was very rough opening this place. And if we weren't been in a committed relationship, I don't think we'd have made it if we'd have just started out. So
what advice do you have going into business with your significant other? They say your business partner is basically a marriage, but this was actually a marriage. But what advice do you have out there for people who are getting into this together? How did you guys get through it?
Before you start an argument, take a big, deep fucking breath and think about what you say. Are you saying it out of anger? If you're saying it out of anger, best not say it.
Wait.
Wait. Just wait. Because if you have a legitimate grievance, say it. Say it even kilter. Don't cuss. Don't try to bring any attitude with it.
Yeah.
And then you'll actually reformat how to say that to almost anybody.
Yeah. So true. Back to finances. I know you mentioned your wife manages a lot of the finances, but what do you know the names of the systems you've adopted, the approach, the practices of managing money and moving money around? Is there a specific
cash is king.
Okay.
Keep all your money, and know where to invest it. We don't know the stock market very well, but we have rental properties.
Okay.
And I don't know the internet that well, but Amanda does, and people like my big stupid face, and they like my face on the books and whatnot. So we know how to cross promote ourselves.
Okay.
And we do radio shows, and we do podcasts, and we do books. I'm writing the second book right now.
Okay.
And I'm writing a children's book.
All right.
I'm doing it all, man.
So
I do it all.
How do you cross promote yourself? Give us some skills on how to get our name out there, how to get our brand out there.
Yeah. People love their food porn, and I don't know your version of food porn, but people love it.
Okay.
And people love it apparently because we pay attention to all these little things. They love it better when I'm holding it and my face is in the shot with the food, and I can't tell you why, and I don't care, but I know how. So and things like I did Top Chef, and then Top Chef got me like, oh hey, these publishing companies, Little Brown wants to do a book with you. Oh good, I want to do a book with them. Oh hey, because you did the book, this person wants to sponsor you on some bourbon. Oh okay, and I made a contact with bourbon. Hey, I also know this guy. He owns a blah 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 blah. So you're always making connections. Always be nice. Always be courteous.
Do you have somebody who's managing? Do you have a manager, like a talent manager, who's finding you these opportunities, or are these just coming to you because you do so well?
Both, and I have a team. I mean, I have a PR company. I have a talent agent. I have a talent lawyer. We have a CPA. We have the whole team.
Okay.
My general manager takes care of a lot of things that are non-restaurant work, but it's still part of the family get together.
When did you start leveraging all these different elements of like having like a publicist? I don't think I've ever heard of. I'm sure probably some of my past guests have had. What was the term you used? Talent manager or talent?
So I have a talent agent, which is different from my PR firm.
So what's the difference?
My talent agent only gets paid when I get paid like to do a TV show, and
Okay.
she makes sure she sells me the TV show for the appropriate amount, with appropriate amount of things going on, and in the wording to make sure I'm not getting screwed over.
Yeah.
And then they also will reach out. So my PR firm, my talent agency, CAA Creative Arts Agency based out of New York. So a producer or a show will call them. Hey, I'm looking for a big bald Cajun. who can wrestle an alligator and go oyster like we got Isaac and whatnot, so they'll sell me like that. But also people will come to me and like, oh, you want to pay me for a season of a show? Okay, here, contact here's my agent's number. You talk to her, and she'll come to me and she'll go, yeah, Isaac, let's do this one.
Yeah, that's another great reason to have somebody who does exactly that, so you can
professionally.
Deflect. Yeah, well, and plus it's not your lane. Get out of your lane. Like, so how have you been able to validate was this an expensive initial investment or?
So the cool thing with a talent agent is they don't get paid until I get paid.
Okay.
But they take a cut, and that's fine with it. That's actually great. I wish everybody worked like that.
Yeah.
I wish every single person on the planet worked like that. My PR firm, on the other hand, they get paid a monthly fee every year, and they're more like my cheerleaders.
Okay.
So they're the ones doing, look, it's Isaac, and they call up newspapers and they call up shows.
Hype,
and they put together packages, and yeah, they're the hype team.
Okay, I love it. Who is your talent? Oh, your publicist. I like to give people shout outs just to.
That's Brusman Carino.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. So we talked about finance. We talked about how you and your wife have lanes. We talked about the differences between publicists and talent management. What were some of the other key things that you think? Do you think you picked that up because of Emeril? Like that whole. Did you have that in the back of your mind, like thinking like I could be a brand? And you are a great personality. Do you think you would have thought like that if you didn't have kind of that influence coming up?
No, never. I actually never thought of any of this like TV chef, celebrity chef. I actually thought it was a bit of a joke.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm a bit of a joke. I'm a bit of a character. I've always been this character. I'm the same guy on TV. I'm the same guy on radio. I'm the same guy in the kitchen. I can't turn this shit off.
But it's an asset.
I'm a smart ass. Yeah, smart asset. And I never, and when Top Chef came around the first time, and they said, hey, you want to do Top Chef? I didn't want to do it.
Why not?
I didn't want to do it at all. I'm like, a TV chef? That's not what I got in this for.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids, and I'll say, if you're listening, if you're getting to this, to be to be rich and famous, you're not going to be rich and you're not going to be famous. That's the 0.1% of us make it to celebrity chef status.
Yeah.
And that's a weird status. I'm a celebrity chef. I still laugh at that. I'm like, that's not a real thing. But it is a real thing. And we're treated like rock stars. And I appreciate that because I don't want to die on the line. At the same time, it's not something you should be going for and training for. But I digress.
I hear you. So, reflecting back on some of the things you shared, you also mentioned that one of your biggest challenges getting started wasn't pricing out your menu. You weren't charging enough, and you figured that out the hard way. Take us through that, reliving that. Like, how did you make it right?
I knew how to do food costs and inventory and whatnot, so I wasn't completely in the dark on things. But it's all about what something's worth, not necessarily what you can charge for it.
What's the difference?
So, so I do food costs, and for say, for instance, my boudin balls. My boudin balls are pork and rice and, and breadcrumbs and some seasonings and whatnot and pork fat. Very simple dish. And I only needed a couple of bucks for it. I only needed a couple of bucks for it, so people were getting these appetizers for $2, $3. And my general manager, who's been with me the whole time, says, Isaac, you should be charging $6. I'm like, I'm only need $3. Like, no, you're not getting it. You're giving people a big portion of appetizer or something. No, you only need $3, but everybody else is charging $6.
Yeah.
And so he kind of opened my mind. I'm like, oh, okay. And I can serve you a plate right now. You'd be like, $6 for that? It's still a steal.
Yeah.
But I always have this paranoid thought of I don't want anybody walking out of here thinking they've been screwed over or I jinxed them out of something. When in fact, I need to make more money than what I charge. I can't. If I paid $1 for something, I can't sell it to you for $1 because then I can't pay anybody else. I can't keep the lights on.
Yeah.
So as you can tell by the car I drive, I'm not like I drive a Silverado. I'm not rolling the dough.
But what you're talking about, like menu engineering, where you price out exactly, to the penny what this item costs us to make, and then you work into that a percentage profit, right? So
right.
You're charging, so you're making a percentage on that no matter what. But certain items, you can play with that percentage because, for example, maybe it's just a really inexpensive dish, but it's very value driven. Like there's a lot of value in that dish, so why not charge 30% profit on that one item to get your return and make up for maybe some of the steaks that are, I'm sure, some of the higher ticketed prices where maybe you want to focus on volume because I don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like you can move things around. Give me an example.
I got a segue for you because sometimes I actually charge less than my percentage markup. So I normally charge a 25% markup. As if I pay 25 cents for it, I charge you $1 for it because that keeps all the lights on and keeps all the other bills, and there are bills coming in. But sometimes I'll only do a 50% markup, especially if something's a higher in price. Yeah. So let's say I sell you a steak, and that steak costs me $20. Yeah. Well, instead of charging you $80, I'm only going to charge you $60. However, if I charge you $60, and it only cost me $20, then I just made $40. Whereas the boudin balls cost me $1. I sell it to you for $4. That's a 25%. So, but I've only made $3 now. Yeah. So even though my food cost is down percentage wise, I made more money, and that's when you know how to you gotta know when to lean the system. Yeah. So yeah, food costs might not be good, but I'm making money. Mm-hmm. Which would you rather? Good food costs or making money? I know which the answer is.
Making money.
Making money.
Yeah, I love it. Anything we haven't? I mean, I want to talk a little bit about. You mentioned that you are a scatterbrain, and I'm a scatterbrain. I think a lot of people that are into this industry are scatterbrains, but you lean on systems, you said. Before we get into that, anything we haven't brought to the surface about the early days, big lessons things you wish you knew now that, or knew then that you know now?
Definitely one of the lessons when I opened up the first menu, I'd love to have a copy of one and look at it and just slap myself in the face for it because there was a bunch of weird, trite crap on there that it really took me a couple of years of being open to realize exactly what the meatery was. You asked me this earlier, when did you know? I'm like, a couple of years after we opened. It was exactly what I know. And now I know what it is. And, but you didn't know. I remember this first thought I had, I have my own restaurant. I can do whatever I want. Oh, shit. What is that? What does that mean? Yeah. Right. Oh, my God. I didn't know it at first. So I, repeated some stuff that I had done in the past and, put this on. This is what I want to do. Yeah, this is what I want to do. Is it good? I don't know. So it took me years to fully be happy with what I was serving.
Okay, I think that's important because you don't know until you know, but you just have to start, and you can't not know. You can't let not knowing stop you from starting. Right. And by starting, you just slowly the vision, the things just start to come together. You start to get that identity, but you just have a general direction to start.
Too dumb to be scared.
Yeah, I love it, man. Great stuff. So when did you start learning about the significance of systems and the importance of systems as a business owner?
Right away. I mean, it's important for a system as the fry cook. It's important for systems as for any job whatsoever. Cooking specifically, there's a way to do things, and you have to repeat them, but it's not always going to come in the same way.
Gotcha.
So every service I've ever ran, the thousands of service we ran in this restaurant, not a single one has gone the exact same way. So you got to be flexible, and you have to have your systems, and you should know, okay, I need about this much, and just go about like this, but be ready to juggle. Be ready to juggle. Have your systems in place, but knowing that system is going to break at some point, and you'll have to adjust to it.
Yeah.
Flexible. Be flexible.
What's the most important system that you have in your business, if you had to narrow it down to one?
The recipe book.
Okay.
There's a ton of things I could answer, but that's the one that came to the top of my head. If your cooks and your managers don't know the recipes, and this goes to the recipes for the bar, this goes to the recipes for how much bleach to put in the bucket to mop, this goes for recipes for the boudin and for the gumbo and for everything. If it's hard written down, and I come to somebody and it's wrong, I go, did you follow the recipe?
Yeah.
And the answer better be yes.
Yeah.
It was just the other day. I had one of my young cooks. He ain't here no more. I'll tell you why later. There was the crab claw vinaigrette. And we sell these marinated crab claws. And I tasted the vinaigrette. And I'm like, did you put oil in here? He's like, yes, chef. I'm like, what does the recipe say? It says it doesn't have oil on it, chef. Then why'd you put oil in it? Oh, I thought that's what you do. I'm like, I strangled him in my head. You can't do that anymore. Yeah. And I just strangled him, and like it took me, because the cheese fell off his cracker a long time ago, and I just had to like sit down and like very slowly. Why did you put oil in this sauce if it's not on the recipe? And he just looked at me blankly. I'm like, yeah, you're not gonna be here long.
Yeah. What is one element of a recipe book that a lot of people leave out that is really important, that will take that tool to the next level?
I mean, you can't have too many details.
Okay.
You cannot have too many details. And I have a professional cookbook out done by Little Brown, written by Jennifer Cole, and it is extremely detailed. And we get hits all the time. It's like, oh man, all these recipes work. It's like, I know. I suffered over them to make sure they work. And they went through a food writer, and we make sure we talked in regular language and not restaurateur language. So my restaurant cookbook, the one the cooks look at, isn't as detailed oriented as my cookbook, and because the cooks know how to read the systems,
okay,
and they know how to make educated guesses on stuff. However, there are no guesses in the book. It's all incremental. It's all either weighed out, measured out. There's nothing that can go wrong.
Okay, so the more
except human error.
Yeah.
There's always going to be human error.
Oh, can't account for that. You have to account for that.
I can tell you to fry the chicken to 155, and you're going to screw that up.
Yeah, man. So the other thing I picked up about you, and this kind of ties back into your media and your publicists, you have a whole story tied to the brand, and I think that's a lot of people miss that opportunity to identify with, what is the business and what's the story behind the business, and why is the business the way it is. And I feel like you have leaned into that a lot with your brand and the story behind the business. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah, I mean, everything we do is on brand, and in fact, that phrase "on brand" comes up a whole lot. We run bone marrow. What's on top of the bone marrow? Chicken gizzards. And, it's very meaty. Meatery is guttural, and we have horns up on the top, and we have axes, and we have gators everywhere. I have a gator on my entire back is a gator tattoo, and the book is chasing the gator, and there's a gator on the mural out front. And we always kind of keep it tied into those Cajun roots. However, I have lamb neck braids and anchovy and red wine. That's not Cajun, but you wouldn't notice.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of other things that aren't Cajun, but you don't notice. And you know what? Extra special? You don't care. Who cares? You put it in your mouth and you go, God, this is fucking delicious. And you don't care if it's Cajun. You don't care if it's Creole. You don't care if it's Southern. I got some lemongrass in there. I got some aged Korean soy sauce. No one gives a shit. It's delicious.
Yeah. But one of the things that comes up on the show a lot is that your restaurant needs to be an extension of who you are. I mean, you can develop a concept or a brand, but if it's something that you have to show up to every day that isn't an extension of you, then it's going to be that much harder to show up every day.
Yeah.
But if it feels like this brand is a literal, I mean, I'm looking around, there's pictures of your family around us. I'm assuming that little guy is you.
That little guy's me.
Yeah. So this whole building is a reflection of your history, your family's history, your values. What happens when you do that?
It's extremely enlightening. It's not only enlightening, but it's empowering. And another thing, when you get your own place, you make this wonderful realization that you only have to do what you want to do. And it was wonderful inspiration when I read Martin Picard's cookbook, Au Pied de Cochon, from Montreal. And reading it hit me in the fucking head. Young cook, he says, I'd never serve anything that I don't want to eat myself. And I'm like, whoa, you can do that? And like, of course you can do that. But I never really so I don't have to have a chicken breast on my menu? No, and I never will. Yeah. And I never serve chicken breast in my restaurant. And I have these things, it's like, I don't like Atlantic salmon. Guess what I don't serve? I don't serve anything that I don't want to eat. And I especially don't serve anything that like you have to have. I don't have soup. People ask, why do you serve soup? I don't want to serve a soup, and it's that easy.
There you go.
It's that fucking easy. I don't have 3 salads. I have 1. It's a nice one. It's very simple.
Yeah.
What, I can't put grilled chicken on and get a grilled chicken Caesar? No, fuck off. And I can't get a burger at night because I don't want to sell burgers at night.
Yeah.
I got people that walk out. So fine.
I love it, man. You are who you are, and I think it's important to know what you want and what you want to be, and to show up every day. I mean, especially I feel like in a city you can get away with it more because there's a broader market that will align and identify with you and what you're doing. So, I mean, do you agree or disagree with that statement?
I agree completely because honestly, there's not a whole lot of cities that would accept a meatery.
Yeah.
Be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I mean, New York. Sure, L.A. maybe, Portland probably, Austin probably, but New Orleans you can really fly your freak flag around here, and we're so entrenched with the culture of food that there's not a whole lot of places that a meatery, you can't just pop up a meatery in Middle America. It wouldn't work. They're going to McDonald's, and that's okay because it's probably the best food out there a lot of times. Yeah,
I'm jumping around a lot because I'm a scatterbrain too. But one of the things that I think that we can learn, this is me, this could help me personally. But for those scatterbrains that are out there right now, we talked a little bit about the importance of a recipe book. But what about in personal life, or just managing your life as a restaurateur with all the different responsibilities you have? I mean, you have to wear so many different hats to execute this career well. How do you keep that under control? How do you keep that organized? What systems are you leveraging to keep your scatteredness under control?
When I'm at home, I'm at home. Work better not call me unless the restaurant's on fire.
Okay.
So I have to make sure there's some separations because I have separation anxiety for my restaurant. And I have 2 wonderful daughters, and I make sure I get time with both of them, and then I make sure I get time with each one of them individually. And I really like my wife, so I make sure we have date night every Tuesday night, and I get pissed off if I don't get it. And I don't have a lot of hobbies, and I don't have I like to go to the gym, but I don't get to go a lot because I'm always working. And people ask me, when you going fishing? I'm like, I get to go fishing once a year, and I get to go hunting maybe once a year. And I don't have a lot of time, but I am living the dream. And a lot of people, when I hear them say living the dream, they're saying it sarcastically, and I'm not. I am living my dream. I have a restaurant. I have a beautiful wife. I have healthy children. And I'm only going up from here. Yeah,
and I think that's important to realize is that a lot of us who might have some regret or resentment for being stuck to their restaurant, we have to remember this was what we asked for. This is what we wanted. And we can choose to be resentful or we can choose to be grateful. We can choose to say, this is what I asked for and I got it, so I might as well make the most out of it. But when you take that approach, when you're that much more just gratitude changes so much. Like, you attract onto yourself better people. Then holy shit, 5 years later, after having this sense of gratitude, I feel comfortable walking away because I've put positive energy into my business. I feel like I'm kind of sounding really woo-woo right now. Do you agree or disagree with what I'm dropping?
No, I'm gonna agree with that. You put the time and effort into your restaurant. Make sure your team is strong, and make sure they have the tools. Yeah. Do they have the tools? Do they have the ingredients? Do they have the morale? Are they being paid well? Yeah. So what are the tools your team needs to do the job well? Just simple direction and letting them do their job, sometimes their way. I tell them all the time, even online cook, I'm like, look, this is how I set up my station. You can set it up completely differently if you can get the job done. Okay. In fact, you can go about a dish slightly different if it comes out the way I like it. Okay. And if I tell people all the time, like, look, you see a problem, you think you can run it a little bit better, come at me. Don't change it without my permission. Yeah. But come at me. And it happens all the time. It's like, chef, if we do this like this, and A like B instead of C like D, it'll be easy to do. And I'm like, oh, shit, let's do that. Listen to your employees. My employees have great ideas all the time. You surround yourself with success, and you'll be fine. There's a bunch of shit I can't do. I can't, sling back cocktails. I can't go talk to guests. I fucking strangle a guest after the first complaint. I can't do that. And there's things you don't want to do or things you're just not good at. I'm not good with the numbers. We have a CPA. Yeah. I am good with other things, and I am good with being out there, and I'm good with radio, and I'm great in the kitchen, and I'm good at a bunch of other places, and I can lift a stock pot by myself on the stove. I know what I'm good at. I know what I suck at, and the things you suck at, you best get somebody else who doesn't suck at it. Quick,
absolutely,
quick.
Great stuff, chef. So when did you know you were ready for location number 2? 5 years later. You have separation anxiety from your first restaurant already. How did you get past that hurdle with having to open your next restaurant?
That actually closed, so I don't know if we want to talk about it. But
well, I would love to talk about it because there's lessons there.
Because there's the lessons there again.
Yeah.
So, the top chef Buzz had like really come and asked me, got some money, like, you know what? Let's open up a second restaurant. Because again, we're stupid. But we had this money. It's like, what do we do? Do we invest in it, or do we open up a restaurant? And because this place was busy, it's still busy, it's to stay busy, and we thought we could translate that into another restaurant. Doesn't always happen. Long story short, we kept the place open for 3 years, and I was extremely proud of the food, and I was extremely proud of the atmosphere and what we tried to do. But long story short of why we failed is that we banked on a up and coming neighborhood that didn't up or come.
Oh,
so and that neighborhood is pretty much seen a downward spiral since, and before, during, and it's probably not coming back.
And given this market, right? So you had a 3-year run. You opened in 2017, so this must have been a recent close.
We closed probably a couple months before the pandemic. Because I'm gonna tell you, if we hadn't, we'd be in even more of a bind.
Yeah.
So it's actually kind of a positive thing, and I was hurt about it.
Yeah.
And it took me a little while to get. Actually, probably right around the time of the pandemic, I went like, hey, you got one successful restaurant, and it's gotten busier since we closed that place. We actually tacked on more shifts here. So we used to close Monday and Tuesday, Sunday, Monday. So we opened up Sunday for brunch. Okay, that did really well. Then we opened up Sunday night. Okay, that did really well. Then we opened up Mondays. Mondays are doing really well. Mm-hmm. So once that comes, and now I'm at a complete piece at it. It was a lesson.
Yeah.
It's a financial loss. It's a kick in the dick.
But I mean, that's part of being a businessman.
That's
part of being it's risk. You take shots.
And now we know. It's like we need to be a little more analytical about other things.
So knowing what you know now, going through this 3-year experience, taking one on the chin, would you be willing to try another second restaurant in the future?
I'm already talking about another one.
Nice. So what are you doing differently? Knowing all you've learned, what would you do differently the next time out?
Honestly, the one thing was location. That's honestly a friend of mine, Donald Link. He owns, Cochon and Pesh and Gianna, and he only opens up restaurants on corners.
Okay.
And there's those little things, and we actually took a risk here 8 years ago when we opened the meatery. This place wasn't all that.
Yeah.
However, it was a nice neighborhood.
What do you mean by not all that? The physical space?
There was nothing around here.
Okay.
I mean, it was just housing, and there was like a cheap Italian joint, which is now a good barbecue restaurant, and there was no businesses down there whatsoever. It was purely residential. So coming in here was like, okay, this neighborhood I think needs a restaurant.
Yeah.
Instead of going trying to fight the Central Business District, which is just, or Magazine Street, which is just tons and tons and tons of restaurant and a lot of competition.
Yeah.
Over here, no competition. We saw the people like were needing a restaurant, found the space, and we took a gamble.
Okay.
And this gamble turned out right.
Corner lot too.
And it's a corner lot.
Yeah. What else was so great about this location? Was it an exit strategy? Was there another restaurant here? Was somebody trying to leave? Or?
There was a restaurant here, it was a Mediterranean restaurant, and I believe the old man just wanted to retire.
Okay, there you go.
And he left me the place. He left me all the dirty equipment. He left me all the trash, and he left me all the crap.
Awesome. So this next restaurant you're going to open, I know we probably can't talk too much about it, but any other things that all the experience you've had now, almost over 20 years, about 20 years of experience, what else are you going to do with all that accumulated experience to do it different, to do it better?
Just make sure that we're going to have constant traffic, humans coming by in one way or another, whether it's foot traffic, tour buses. I don't care. You have to really get your presence out there. You have to make sure you can have the best restaurant on the earth. And if you don't have, I'll quote the vice president of Emeril's, asses in seats. Yeah. If you don't have asses in seats,
real estate.
You will have nothing.
Yeah,
some of the best restaurants in the world have closed for that.
Yeah,
I know people who have amazing restaurants with no customers and they shut down. Mm-hmm. And they also know, on the other hand, terrible restaurants that have a line out the door because they have a line, because people like a line.
It draws you in. Yeah, absolutely. So regarding on that note of viral, how have you handled COVID-19? I mean, I don't like to spend a ton of time on COVID-19, but I feel like what my listeners could benefit from is what you've taken in and how you plan on coming back. What changes you made in your business to get through this weird time?
You know, we shifted gears immediately.
Okay.
And I think that's a good, hard lesson to learn is when shit hits the fan, to get out the spick and span and get to cleaning real quick. Because something's going to happen. If you don't start moving right now, you're going to suffer. You're going to suffer badly.
Yeah.
So we immediately we closed on one day. Because on one day we essentially dipped the restaurant in bleach, and then everybody put masks on and we gloved up. We put sanitizer out there, and then we opened up for takeout service. This is the only thing we could do. We couldn't have anybody inside. And then we immediately reached out and we started this family meal program organically. I can't say that we're going to have a shutdown and we're going to start feeding 500 people every day out of pocket. Not how it happened. How it happened was luckily we managed to keep 75% of our staff. We had to let go a couple of servers and a couple of cooks. But I told them, look, you can't have a job and we'll get your job back as soon as possible. But if you don't have a meal every day during our family meal, we have it every day. We have it twice a day. We have one for lunch and one for dinner. Family meal means literally the food I feed my employees. Mm-hmm. That should be standard restaurants. It's not. But it's something I felt that's necessary. Mm-hmm. So even before this happened, we'd have family meal every day. We eat and we continue to work. So I told them, look, don't have a job? Come and eat every single day. So instead of cooking 8 meals or 10 meals a day, I just started cooking 15.
Yeah.
I get the call, chef, I've got one of my roommates, he got fired, and they're not feeding him. Can you make a couple? Can we give him like a piece of sausage? Like, fuck that. Now I'm making 20. And 20 turned into 40, and 40 into 50. And then we started to crowdfund it because we didn't have any government assistance at that time. So we started doing close to 500 meals out of pocket every day, and we started getting donations of beer and started donations of food, and then people were just writing us checks or Venmo us money. So we were able to keep this program up and alive. Pretty soon we had a line down the block, 6 feet apart, of course, but we were trying to feed anybody. First it was service industry, and then I stopped caring. I said, I don't care. You need a meal, come get a meal. If you can afford it, pay for a meal.
Yes.
And then that'll go back into the family meal program and keeping the lights off. I'm not making any money right now. In fact, I'm losing a little. But it's keeping the lights on. It's keeping my employees fed, and it's keeping everybody who needs food. And that's a horrible thing to say, that in 2020, in the greatest country on earth, that we have people out there to this day with no food.
Yeah. And at this point, I feel like it's too late to react to COVID-19. I hope you would have already reacted whatever way you're going to react. But the lesson here is that when shit does hit the fan, it's going to hit the fan. When things stop, just because cash flow stops doesn't mean relationships stop. And business is all about those relationships. Cash is just a tool to help us manage relationships, right? So you got to keep those relationships going. You got to take care of these people because, yeah, you might be losing cash, but what you're gaining in that relationship and getting a tighter bond with your community, you can't put a price on that. And you're not doing it. I mean, you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, you're not doing it because you're hoping to get a return. But when you take care of people, it always comes back somehow, some way. You don't know how to track it, but it will come back. You just have to have that faith that it comes back. And just I want to commend you for taking care of your community during that time. It's the best thing. It's the only thing we can do, right? It's
what I do. I cook food for people. You know, I can't go on the front lines of the medical industry. I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
What I can do is I have a giant crawfish pots, and I have big wooden paddles, and I can put big amounts of food out to people in mass. And I just felt a moral responsibility. I didn't need somebody from the government to tell me, hey, start cooking. I didn't need a deity to tell me. I didn't need my mom to guilt me. None of that happened.
Yeah.
We immediately just was like, you know what? I'm going to start cooking. People are hungry.
So are you going to change anything about your business going forward that will be a permanent change because of COVID-19?
On a small note, my menu is smaller now because we condensed it down, and I'm kind of falling in love with it.
Why?
My menu used to be, I'd rather have a restaurant that did one thing extremely well than a restaurant have 50 things that are all just mediocre.
Yes.
And that has always kind of been my mantra. I'm like, and so with this, like, I was just tacking on a couple, like, oh, I'll bring on this dish, and so I just tacked it on, and I don't think consistency wasn't a problem, but now that I have lower staff, I want to have less things. Just focus on these small amount of things. And the menu's still not small. Yeah. It's not a micro menu, but it's smaller. And I may keep it for the rest of the time because it's actually like it's all of the best hits, and it's what everybody loves. And I might bring back a couple of the other dishes, but honestly, the size of the menu is just easier to handle.
Absolutely.
It's going to be easier to handle in mass quantities.
I love it. So anything we have not discussed up to this point, you're hoping we discuss something that you're known for that my listeners would just be losing out on if we didn't talk about it.
Every time someone asks me this during an interview process, I always go, "There's probably something I should be saying right now." But this is the scatterbrain part. Somebody always normally asks me a top chef question. Right now I am partnered with Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen to actually get some money for some of these plates, and these plates are going to the frontline workers and going to homeless shelters. And so partnered with Jose Andres is like one of my mentors. I met him one time on Top Chef coincidentally, but he's he gonna walk in his footsteps. Look, what is he doing? He's going out to Puerto Rico and feeding people after storms and whatnot. And he's going to where the bushfires and feeding people there. Like, that's what we should be doing. And that guy's doing it right. I want to do that.
Yeah, and that's one more nugget that we can pull from your story is that you just said that Jose Andres is your mentor. You met him one time. You don't need the world. We live in such a fortunate place right now because we can literally tap into the minds of the most successful, driven, you name it, people out there. They just put it out there. You can listen to their books, you can listen to their podcasts, you can listen to the people that have interviewed them. Like you can allow yourself to be so influenced. You can get inspiration from anywhere. So don't get out there and just start paying attention to what other people are doing. Find your inspiration, right?
Right.
I love it. So one question I ask all my guests before we go to the speed round is our mission statement is to inspire, empower, and transform the industry. How have you transformed? How can we learn from your transformation?
I used to be tough as nails, and now I'm tough as adamantium. You can't get me down, and I'm a positivity guy. I'm an optimist. The glass is half full, and it's half full of whiskey. And you get to do it yourself. Don't wait for somebody. Somebody's not going to tell you to get in line. Somebody's not going to tell you to wake up in the morning. You got to find that. Quote Eminem. You got to find that shit within you.
Yeah.
And pull that shit out.
Yeah.
And be a winner.
Are you an optimist every day? Do you ever have your days where you're just like, fuck?
Only a psychopath liar would say I'm positive all the time. Of course, I had a down week last week, and my wife had to slap me out of it because I hadn't got any days off. So I got a day off, and I spent some time wrestling my kids, and went out to eat, and then got drunk. I'm like, big deep breath. Okay, and we're back into it. Okay, yeah. So of course this shit hits you, especially during now times, and when money gets low, or you have to shut down a restaurant, or your kid gets sick, or your wife's pissed off at you. Yeah, you're gonna have these down times, but then you got to shake that shit off.
Absolutely,
shake it off.
Awesome stuff, Chef. Thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. We're back, and the first question I have for you is: what is your it factor? A habit, a trait, a characteristic you believe most contributes to your success?
Drive.
What is your biggest weakness?
Ego.
Ooh, get into that real quick. How are you overcoming your ego?
Ego is my favorite drug, and a little bit of it is fantastic. Make you confident. Doing a public speaking, going to do some TV, do a radio, walk into the kitchen, super confident. Ego's a little high. Too much, and my wife makes comments like, we would have to butter my ears, get my head through the door. And then you get cocky and you're overconfident, and you think you're like better than other people, and you're one of these chefs that like, oh, they're doing that over there, and you become one of these fucking snobs, and that's one thing I hate is snobbery. Yeah,
I love it. There's a good balance there for sure.
Yeah, ego's a great drug, but
what's one question you ask or thing you look for when you're growing your team, when you're interviewing people?
Team player.
I love it. Keep going.
I've taken several people off the street with zero culinary talent. Zero.
Sounds familiar.
None whatsoever, and turned them into badass cooks and badass chefs.
But look at yourself. I mean, you grew up with food, so you didn't have zero culinary experience, but you didn't have any much professional.
No professional line cooking experience. That has to be learned. And so I never look at. I almost never. Your resume doesn't even mean worth the paper on it. Yeah. Honestly, come to the kitchen, work. Then I'll figure out real quick if you're going to work here.
Yeah, hire for attitude, train for skill.
Yeah,
that's something that
I can train you. You get the attitude, I can train you to fucking lift a truck.
I love it. What is one of your biggest challenges today?
Staying calm.
Staying calm. How are you overcoming that challenge?
Years and years of practice and learning when to walk away from a situation, learning when to let somebody else take it over, learning to take a day off, keeping calm. If you can keep calm, a samurai is calm unto the point of death. Because dying because being upset when you get killed does not really solve anything, is it?
No. Share one code of conduct or behavior you teach your team. This is a way to be, a way to act.
I quote Jesus, and I'm not a godly man, but do unto others as you would have done to yourself.
I mean, I'm not sure if he existed or not.
Not sure either.
But if he was, he had some great lessons there.
But the words ring true. I can't believe I just quoted Jesus. And I'm an atheist. But I always bring back the previous conversation. When I go to tell somebody they're doing something wrong or right, or how do I want to be addressed at myself? I try to turn it around. Yeah. I would want someone to say calmly, hey, please do this like this instead of doing it like that. That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
What's one uncommon standard of service you teach your team? So something that's common within the four walls of your businesses, not common throughout the industry.
The customer's not always right.
Ooh, get into that. When aren't they right?
They're not right when they don't walk in here with a mask, and when they start treating one of my staff rudely or inappropriately. I don't know why some people walk into a restaurant and automatically assume that their server is now their servant. And treating other people rudely in a restaurant or anywhere, honestly, how dare you?
Yeah.
In fact, get the fuck out. In fact, never come here again. Most beautiful words a customer could say to me is, I'm never coming here again. I'm like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank Christ.
I love it. What is one book that's a must read to make us a better person or a restaurant operator?
Oh, I haven't read a book since I opened my restaurant. I used to read books all the time. I'll say what's coming off the top of my head, and that's I brought my favorite cookbooks of all time is Au Pied de Cochon.
Okay.
It just written by Martin Picard, and it follows his restaurant and what he does, and he's a self-admitted big fat French guy, and he does what he wants, and he treats his staff well, and he just tries to live his life within and with his restaurant and with his crew and with his family, not at his restaurant or at his crew. Is like it's all one being.
Yeah. And I kind of like marched that beat of there is no such thing as work-life balance. There's just
balance,
just living intentionally in your life's work. But when you do it right, I mean, it's just another way of saying like work-life balance, but it's just like living intentionally, doing exactly what you want to do and knowing what you want and just getting it.
Right. So like the first week of being a father, you're like, yeah, I'm living with children now. And after the second week, you're like, I'm living. Oh.
What is one thing you feel restaurateurs don't do well enough or often enough?
I don't like to stick my nose in other people's businesses, but I think a lot of people don't ask their employees or ask their good customers, hey, what can we do better?
Yeah, I love it. Some recommendations now. What is one service you've outsourced or hired? We already mentioned a couple. You can repeat those here if you want.
You get a certain amount. You can't handle all the books and all the business. Get yourself a CPA. Make sure you have a lawyer on tag, because make sure a lawyer looks over every document you sign, because people will ask for everything, and then 9 times out of 10 you don't have to give them anything.
Yeah. So part of the point of this question is how good people connect with good people. A reference. So can you give us some names of the people you went to, the companies?
Yeah. Well, I've been a nice guy my entire life, and that helps out. And when you're a nice guy and you ask somebody for hey, do you know anybody in the blah industry? They're like, yes. Yeah. Or I know of a person. I mean, I was just on the phone with with a friend of mine who knows a bunch of electricians. She's my realtor, in fact. My really good realtor friend who got me both my houses, which are worth more than what I paid for them, is also renting my properties.
Nice.
I have a problem with electricity. I call my friend Katie, and she knows all the electricians and knows the ones that aren't going to screw me, and send them over here and say, don't screw Isaac. So it's that keeping that little network.
Yeah.
I know vicariously tons of fucking people.
Give us a name of a company that you would recommend to everybody right now that you're using.
Crap. Give me a genre or something. I'm drawing a blank here, dude.
Your publicist.
Brusman and Carino. They're my PR firm. And they are wonderful cheerleaders, and they don't take a whole lot of clients, and they really focus on what's going on. So they also have clients. I'm not going to name names. Other clients in New Orleans, they make sure to differentiate so we all get an equal part of the share.
Okay.
Their other clients are not Cajun and whatnot. So when the Cajun thing comes up, they call me. When the non-Cajun thing comes up, they call them.
Got you.
So they know how to divvy up the pie, and they really know how to really sell the head.
Throw your talent manager out there too, because I feel like there might be a lot of people who are listening to this who are just naturally got charm or charisma, and maybe they're interested in leveraging that outlet to get their brand in front of more people. Who's your talent agent?
Talent agent, that's Hannah with a Creative Arts Agency. I hope I said that acronym right. And they're wonderful. They make sure that they have my back. Again, they don't make money until I make money.
I think that's why it's important to recommend people like this.
And you've got to bring the personality, and it's all about if you're entertaining, that makes their job easier.
Yeah.
So but I will like to say this is like, just because you're a chef doesn't mean you have to get yourself on camera.
It's true.
I know plenty of chefs who want nothing to do with the
limelight.
Everybody. It's not for everybody. It's not designed for everybody.
Yep.
And make sure you're getting yourself something that you want to do.
Got you. Okay, we're almost at the end. A couple more questions. What's one piece of technology you've recently updated that's had a huge impact on communication, efficiency, profitability, anything like that?
Instagram, baby.
Instagram.
It's all about Instagram.
Yeah.
It really is about the Insta, and our social media is rising.
And you get 41,000 followers or something like that?
51.
51,000, sorry.
And, that really does, 10 years ago, this wouldn't be, it's like we pay for a commercial, or we got to get a radio program out there, or what. Now it's, it's not free, but it's damn near free, and people love that Insta. So I pay a personal photographer good money to come take food shots, take shots of us, and getting our brand out there on the building itself. We got the big mural out there right now. And when we do something for the community, we make sure it's all highlighted. You got to be out there, and you have to be out there consistently. We post on social media every day.
Yeah, and you gave us some good nuggets there, like outsourcing to do photography, take not just the food but of the people. I think that's a really big thing. People don't let the cameras into like the people, the lives behind the restaurant. What's another piece of advice, like specific around Instagram, that has worked for you?
Specifically around Instagram?
Yeah.
Get professional shots.
Okay. People
love that food porn, and we got to make sure it looks great.
Is there like a campaign you guys have done that has been successful or anything like along those lines?
I do a ton of charity.
Okay.
And that's always good. It's always good to throw back to your community.
What is charity?
Charity.
Oh, I thought you said charity. Sorry, charity.
I'm gonna write charity down.
It's not a bad
That's
idea,
good.
right?
That's good. I like that. That's mine, guys.
Gotcha. I think I know what charity is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Especially the ones that give back to community. I love to do edible schoolyard. It's what's teaching children how to grow their own vegetables and cook their own vegetables, because I don't think a lot of children growing up learn that.
Yeah. And I think there's a weird balance to find. There's a lot of people, and I don't know about you, man, but when I see it, and it's so obvious when you see it, where people are doing good for the sake of capturing doing good. How do you find that balance of doing good for the sake of doing good and just having the cameras there, but not the forefront, not capturing what you would be doing regardless of whether or not there's cameras there? How do you find that balance?
You could burn every camera right now and still be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you want to shoot it, but it's not necessary. I don't need to. I don't need to be known for like, oh yeah, I did all this charity work. You guys came second. The cameras come after I started doing this work. I don't do this for fame. I don't do this for fortune. Definitely not for fortune. Definitely not. But it's just this moral responsibility. It's like it's what you should do. Like I've got to go tell you to be nice to your neighbor. I got to tell you to help out your friend.
Yeah.
If I got to tell you to pick up your friend from the dirt, you scraped his knee, you got problems.
Exactly. Well, this is the last question. It's a doozy, so be ready for it. If you got the news, you'd be leaving this world tomorrow. All the memories of you, your work, and your restaurants will be lost with your departure, with the exception of 3 pieces of wisdom that you can leave behind for the good of humanity and for your legacy. What would those 3 pieces of wisdom be? What would you want to be remembered by? It's a deep question, man.
For your children, be there. Don't abuse them. That's one. That's the easy one. That's the easy parent. You can tell every parent, it's like, all you got to do is be there. All you got to do is be there, and don't beat them and don't abuse them.
Yeah.
Really. Let's see. For work, do it all. You do it 100%, or don't do it at all.
I love it. 2.
Find someone you love and love them more.
Yes.
And just constantly just pound that in and don't let it go.
3. Awesome stuff, Chef. Thank you so much. We wrap up every chat by calling somebody out. Who's somebody you respect and admire and believe would make a great guest mentor, like you made for us today? Somebody that if you knew they were interviewed on the show and you wanted to hear their story and their advice, you'd be listening to that episode.
Trying to think somebody cool. I'm just gonna go with one of my friends, Kelly Fields Odens, Willa Jean, in the CBD, and she's cool. She's a badass pastry chef and got a long, wonderful story, and is going through trials and tribulations herself. And we became good friends, and her and my wife are great friends. And just really one of those salt of the earth, good, fucking crazy kind of nut job.
My kind of people.
Yeah, just people, and we're another just like little tight knit community of chefs, and just respect the hell out of her.
Yeah, hit me with that name one more time.
Kelly Fields.
Kelly Fields.
She owns Willa Jean.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. Kelly, look out, we're coming after you. And what if we want to come join your team, or maybe we have questions around some of the things you mentioned? What's the best way to follow you and connect?
Hit me up. I'm Toups Meatery on Team Toups on the Instagram. I'm on the Facebooks, and you can reach out. Better yet, come to the meatery, get some cracklings and a pork chop.
There we go. And I'm not sure what episode number this is going to be. Make sure you stick around for the closing thoughts. We'll drop that on you. But just head over to restaurantunstoppable.com/whatever that number is. You'll find a complete summary of today's discussion, as well as any tools, links to tool services, books recommended, and how to connect with Chef Toups over there. Again, Chef, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story, your knowledge, and your mentorship. There is no questioning. You are unstoppable.
Thank you, man.
Cheers.
Anytime.
Bye-bye.